2.38
Christians?
Christians.
Are we catching up with y'all? Whoa! Because everyone knows that the difference between a jinn and an angel is that when an angel takes a form, he takes a perfect, beautiful form. Okay, the form of a man that's perfect and beautiful. When a jinn takes a form, it's not the same. It's going to be a mixture. So that's where you get your mermaids from. That's where you get these things from. They have human tops and the bodies of animals, or things that have hooves. Why are we not just looking at what we know? I stumbled upon a debate on the Daily Wire, and it was entitled, "Do Aliens Exist?" I was intrigued because all of the head honchos were on there, and they were giving their, doing what they do, pontificate. And so I said, let me just look at this and see what these guys got to say, because all of them have a spiritual background, I believe. And so I sat there and I listened. All right, I'm going to say the first 10 minutes of it. My stepfather, when he would hear things like this, he had a deep voice, like he would change his voice up octaves, and he would sing this phrase, and it's either from Isley Brothers or it's from one of those other guys who used to have a light voice, and he would say, "Educated fools from educated schools." No, that was terrible. "Educated fools from educated schools." And that just encapsulates exactly what I saw there. Not saying they're educated fools, but this idea of pontificating and you're shooting, throwing rocks in the dark. You're shooting arrows in the sky. Like Rajman Bil Ghaib, just shooting. And reality is that you're saying yourselves, we just don't know. But there's more that we do know than you're taking into consideration. So what I loved was when, after about 10 minutes of pontificating crap, Matt Walsh says, all of this is, he said, but if you add in the God factor, it changes everything. And I said, thank you. I wouldn't kiss him, but that's what you say. If I could kiss you on your forehead, like the old woman used to say, grab him by his cheeks and kiss him on his forehead like a kid. Thank you for bringing it back down to something that everyone can agree on. Because we do all this pontification, but because of science, and science wants to take out the God factor, quote unquote, they don't want to talk about anything that's spiritual, then they go all the way here and all the way there. And what about such and so? And so it's billions of light years. And we don't need to understand all of that. We need to take in consideration what we do know. Jews, Christians, and Muslims believe, or they agree on a few things. We believe in the existence of God, who is unseen. We believe in the existence of angels, which are unseen. And we all believe in some spirit that's not an angel, because angels are in the service of God, aren't they? So there's some other spiritual world that's out there that we all agree exists, but no one wants to talk about, and they are also unseen, but they can also be seen at times, just like angels can be seen at times. If you just take that in consideration, it changes the whole conversation from, oh, what about if they came from light years away, and if they come back, then if they're sending stuff, then that means they're eons above us in technology, or maybe it's our own technology and we're playing, could be a point. Okay, there could be a point. Because certain things that's been in certain movies over the past 10, 15 years is almost hidden in plain sight. Once that Pentagon report came out, and we realized that they have been studying this stuff since the 50s. These situations with these aircrafts that they've known forever, that's exactly the same shape aircrafts that they've been talking about since then, that people that came out right before they died, they were working high clearance in there, talking about that they have one of these or some of these aircrafts, and they've been studying them and trying to figure out how they work, because they go against gravity instead of with gravity instead of against gravity, and all of this stuff. So people have theories. Back in the days when we used to look at Alex Jones, I'm not sure if it was Alex Jones or it was somebody else, but they had a whole theory that this is going to be the next big false flag situation that they're going to use in order to get everyone down with the New World Order program, because it's going to be that it has to be the humans against these things that's coming from the sky. And even when I heard that, I said, well, you can't do that unless you're in cahoots with those things that's coming from the sky. There are people that are in cahoots with things spiritually. That's not even my point.
Please, arrive at the point.
My point is, if we study angels, this other spiritual world, and humans, and we just leave it at that, then if it's not angel, and if it's not human, then has anyone considered this other spiritual world that's all around us and it's unseen, that everyone agrees is there, okay? We call them jinns. You guys know them as the one little section of them, genies, which comes from the word jinn. Genie comes from jinn. Some of you, like the Jews, call them mazikim or something like that, mazikim, which is a species or a subspecies possibly of the jinn, because they said that these are the ones that come and they cause evil and cause trouble. We all know it. We've seen in cartoons, on one side is an angel telling you to do good, on the other side, what is that? That pops up and disappears. Witchcraft, we all agree that witchcraft exists. Who's bringing us this witchcraft? It's not the angels, it's not us, it's another spiritual world, correct? We know about the story of King Solomon. It was actually his biggest challenge, and God gave him strength to defeat the challenge of that spiritual world and the power that they had gained during the time of Babylon. And so he wasn't, as we know clearly, he wasn't someone that used witchcraft or magic. He was given by God power in order to be over them. But because they're so powerful and strong, the only way that could happen is for them to be given a power like no one else had ever before. So that's why he was able to control them. And they built and they dug, were deep divers and builders and all this stuff, because he made them do those things with the power of God, with a promise that if you disobey, then you got to deal with God. He's going to deal with you. So point is that we all agree King Solomon and his story. And there were spiritual elements that were there. Spiritual beings that were there. There weren't angels or weren't humans. We all agree that witchcraft exists to this day, that sorcery exists to this day. And it comes from not angels, not humans, but some third category. We all know the ideas about jinns and genies and all of that, but you guys are not thinking deeply enough about this. Now, educated fools from educated schools, because if you look at how many Muslims are in the world now?
1.8 billion.
1.8 billion common people, mostly, all know clearly that there's an element or there's a species that exists around us that most likely has to do with the majority of this stuff that you call UFOs. 1.8 billion. And they just look and they just smile, because we're told and taught everything that you've been taught, except that we really retain it and we've been taught a little deeper. Okay, so
Actually,
there's a chapter.
2 billion, just.
How many Christians are in the world? Since you're looking. And how many Jews?
Okay, 2.38
Christians?
Christians.
Are we catching up with y'all? Whoa! And?
14.8 million.
Okay, so you have over 2 billion Muslims who all know that these entities exist around us. 2.3 billion Christians who know if they just think about it. And then 14.8 million Jews who know if they just think about it. So why isn't this being discussed? It's not being discussed because science pretty much forbids that, okay? So the whole point is that we know that these entities exist. In Islam, the common person can tell you, because in the chapters that we learn in elementary school, there's a chapter called the JINN. And in this chapter called the JINN, it goes into detail. And the first thing that it starts with is there was a group of jinn and they heard the scripture and said, this is an amazing scripture. It guides to that which is right. Oh, and the point is why? Because this species of jinn, this other species you were talking about, they're not all evil. It's an entire species. Some are good, some are evil, some are Christian, Jews, some are builders, some are divers. It says in that same chapter that we are all different types, just like you. Some of us submit to the scriptures and are Muslims. Some of us do other things, and we are all different types, just like you are all different types. So this is a whole species that we're not taking into consideration. They also talk about how they take advantage of humans, which is why I believe, because you think I'm just talking when I say what I say. So let me tell you why I say it. In this same chapter, it says there are some people from men, humankind, that communicate with those from jinn kind, okay? And when they do it, these evil ones lead them astray. Okay, so they tricked them to think like we see in the situations of the old civilizations, where you have these pictures of things that's half human and half something, because everyone knows that the difference between a jinn and an angel is that when an angel takes a form, he takes a perfect, beautiful form. Okay, the form of a man that's perfect and beautiful. When a jinn takes a form, it's not the same. It's going to be a mixture. So that's where you get your mermaids from. That's where you get these things from. They have human tops and the bodies of animals, or things that have hooves, or the things that look like the bird face, or like this or like that, because they can't take full form, full beautiful human form. So they take a partial form, and then they get people to worship them, to think that there's something special, when all it is that they have knowledge of science, technologies, and things like that we don't have yet as humans, which comes back to UFOs. It says in another chapter, those spirits will come upon those who are righteous, or come upon the humans. Some of them will come on riding
Horses.
on means of transport. Some are going to come on foot, and some will come on means of transport. Okay, so it uses the word khayl, which means the top tier of transport at the time. So that top tier would increase as time increases, wouldn't it? So the whole point is, there's so many things that point to, why are we not just looking at what we know? And instead we're going all out here and all out there, and it would make a lot of sense. And then you can look at it from a different angle, which is, why are they here? Why are they starting to show themselves? Why are they starting to become known? It might just be because technology is changing, so we're really just catching them and they're supposed to catch them. And maybe because they're showing themselves purposely, because the time is going to come where it's going to be a great interaction between them, which the Muslim believes that when Jesus comes back, before him, the Antichrist, this is going to be part of his army. These same species is going to be part of his army. Those people have spiritual background or religious background. Look at what you've been given in the scriptures before you follow atheist scientists all out everywhere, and they're right. All those things exist. All those millions and billions of galaxies and this and that, and they keep to expand, because we know how we know that is in the scriptures also. It says that he created those heavens and he's constantly expanding them. So when you tell us these things, we already know if we study. But the point is that before you go following these people all the way out into the stars, or before you do the opposite and just discredit, study what you were raised upon better. Take time to foundate yourself in the gift that you've been given. And yeah, they're going to call you whatever they're going to call you. But what you need is in your heart to know and have a better understanding of what's going on around you, so that you can act accordingly.